What's up? Welcome to my channel. I'm Corelli, and this is episode 352 of my Cat Vibe series. Today I'm painting yet another panel, and the title of this painting is Slow Glow. And before we jump into the video, of course, I want to urge you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and enable all notifications. Hit that bell notification, shall you? If you're watching on Instagram, follow me. And if you like my content, share it. I'll appreciate this. And if you want to buy a painting of mine, go to my Etsy store. The link should be in the description, at least on YouTube, not on Instagram. This time, I'm going for a more challenging thing, for a more challenging goal, because I have 3 layers here in this painting. I have stuff which is messy, and I already know that I'm gonna be bordering abstract big time, because there's no point in trying to rigorously paint through all the nitty-gritty details of the bushes and whatever vegetation that is in the background. So I'm not gonna do this. There's the sky in the back, which has to set the tone, and the lighting. It has to set the tone, absolutely, because it's a major factor, because it has to interact with, the rest of the painting. And then the third element, of course, is the foreground. And here I will have some leaves, and I'll have some, what have you, whatever there is, mostly leaves of different plants, and these plants, they're colorful, and some of them are darker. So there is some shadows, and it's less abstract and it's more concrete. But this is pretty challenging because, of course, if I was going for a realistic depiction of a scene, I could have just, went leaf after leaf, stem after stem, and painted everything, but that's not what I want. It's not what I'm looking for. So I need an interpretation. I need to find a pattern, and I need to expand on that pattern and make it dynamic. That's what the allure is to me, personally. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what actually I enjoy the most in oil painting. Because then I can line up my brush strokes in a certain direction, and then I can move with color, and then I can also contextualize the lighting and move from there. That's what I like about it. And that's perhaps something that maybe this is why I'm not a huge fan of painting in a more realistic manner. Not that I'm trying to invalidate that or anything, to each their own, but for me personally, I like the interplay of color, mass, and the dynamic representation of what I see, as opposed to a realistic depiction. Interpretation, dynamic, colorful interpretation, to me that's a lot more important. And of course I'm superimposing my perception on everything, and my will, whatever I see, and how I want it to be, and what I think would be more expressive. So in that regard, I guess my painting is pretty expressionistic. And then also I'm trying to feel out what kind of vibe the scene gives me. What do I feel is happening in that scene? What is the interaction between the elements? How do they flow? What do the colors say? How do they feel? What is the feeling that comes with the colors? What's the feeling that comes with the textures and with different masses of objects? So that's another level of things. And so in part I'm kind of imposing myself on what I see, and another part of that is that I'm allowing what I see to also tell me for lack of a better term, what it wants to tell me. And so it's a back and forth kind of game for me in painting. And I think in part I'm doing that same thing in music as well. I listen within, and when I hear an element of a melody, a couple of notes, I listen more, and I keep listening. And sometimes melodies show up in my dreams, and I wake up, and sometimes I remember the whole melody, and then I preserve it. Sometimes I would just go with that melody and make it into a song, or make it into an element of a song. And sometimes I would remember just an aspect of that melody in a certain key or with a certain chord progression that I've heard in the dream. And then I would wake up and I would take that melody out of that context and change the context entirely, but still preserve the feeling of it. So it's not that I'm intellectualizing through everything. I'm actually trying not to. I'm stopping myself at a certain point, and I'm allowing just everything to tell me what it wants to tell me. I know it sounds kind of crazy. I don't quite know how to explain this, but the world around is certainly telling us something. It's not a one-way street. It says something. It breathes, you know? So I think I'm trying to listen to that, and sometimes it's like a conversation, like an ongoing conversation. Sometimes I say something, or I sing something, or I produce something, or I birth something into the world, and other times I'm just receiving something from the world and absorbing something from the world. So it's an ongoing process. And this painting is a good example of that process. It's me taking something from the world and then allowing it to get through me and then to get reborn in a new form. So here's the finished painting, and thank you for being with me on this episode, and until next time, ciao.